if some film noir shit happens, I'll call you. Cult Killer is currently streaming on Hulu. It was directed by John Keyes, who's done action and horror projects in the past. Check out his IMDb page for the full list of his work. This was written by Charles Burnley, and I say written because really this is every hackneyed spy cliche. Human Centipede into an apparent action movie that really is simplistic yet incomprehensible at the same goddamn time. Just tipping my hand right there because Cult Killer is one of the laziest, one of the most boring, and one of the worst goddamn spy thrillers that I have seen in fucking years. Antonio Banderas had his name slapped all over the poster here. He's only in it for a few minutes. He was also the biggest star in this particular production. Nothing against the cast, because actually it does have some recognizable names, such as Alice Eve, who plays Cassie Holt. And I do have to say Alice Eve, who was also in that ATM horror movie that took place around ATM. As far as horror movies go, that was pretty simplistic. It also wasn't very good, but she tries. She certainly tries. So bonus points. Yeah, she's an agent. She's trying to get revenge after her boss is killed in an apparent, vicious, just vile attack. Just something where he was targeted. He was the clear target of this whole thing. Except no, he was caught in the crosshairs. Could have been caught in other kind of hairs, short and curly hairs. This movie is straight down to the short and curly hairs and was being buried and rubbed in until it was sandpapered. Every bit of interest was sandpapered off, and all we had left was pubes all over our goddamn face, and we didn't even get to have fun getting somebody off. Am I being clear that I hated Cult Killer? Yeah. So Alice Eve is in this. You also have Shelley Henning, who plays Jamie, and yeah, that's Charlotte right there. Also, the older lady, Olwen Foray, however you say her name, from Tarot, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and The Watchers. She seems like she's a terrific actress, and everything I see her in, she's trying, and my God, she is in such abysmal projects. Tarot and The Watchers coming out within 2 months of each other. So, yes, from Saban Films and other production companies. I guess nobody wanted to take the full blame for Cult Killer existing. This came out in theaters, very briefly, months ago. I don't remember exactly how long ago. It was even playing at a theater about 30 miles from me. I thought of going to see it, changed my mind, and it's a good thing. Because if I had to sit down and watch this goddamn fiasco in theaters, I probably would have just said, nope, I'm done. I can't. I care too much about what I'm doing with my life. Evidently not, because I decided to finally review it. So on Hulu, whatever, if you're paying for a subscription service, why not give it a shot? And I thought this movie might actually be okay. And in the beginning, there was rap, as our Lord and Savior Dr. Dre once said. But yes, after a particular series of events, the plot then dissolves basically into trying to bring down a rich family that does things, as rich families are known to do. It's set in the UK. I assume Ireland. I think it is set in Ireland. The accents are hard for me to understand. No accent, though, as far as from the UK, was as hard to understand as Antonio Banderas. I know, it is hard to lose an accent, but good God, he didn't even try here. So, yes, after the first few minutes, we get the plot rolling down a hill into a ravine, which is where this movie should have been sent. The action sequences are terrible. Alice Eve is not necessarily a tremendous actress. She tries, but she's out of her element here because she's trying to act like a tough badass. And this is also just clearly a movie that was hacked out just for streaming purposes, and it's not good. It is not good at all. It's on Hulu if you want to check it out. Terrible action scenes, terrible plot. Simplistic, again, yet incomprehensible, just a mess. And the flashbacks are reminding me of a variation of the rhythm section, at least elements. I mean, it's not a carbon copy, because the rhythm section was terrible. It had something to it. It just didn't have much. This has less than the rhythm section. Congratulations, Cult Killer. You beat the rhythm section for lack of quality. Congratulations. Give yourself a rotten brown star. Anyway, spoilers. So, yeah, basically, Antonio Banderas brings on Cassie, getting her out of a situation at a bar where she's just gallivanting around. In a very nice black dress, I will say Alice Eve is a very beautiful woman. The one that played the bartender, by the way, Sophie Amber, very, very nice. I'd like to see her in more stuff. But, yeah, he decided, Mikhail, I'm just going to call him Antonio. It's just funnier to say Agent Antonio, double A. Yeah, this pretty much could have used AA. This movie actually was set in a few bars, so it probably could have used AA. He recruits her. 5 years later, he ends up getting killed by Jamie Douglas. Jamie Douglas, it turns out, is somebody that wants to bring down this very, very rich family of like 2 people, and they have an agent guy named Victor that helps funnel things along with another blonde agent, I believe, named Wallace. None of these characters really mean anything, and even though I wrote shit down, the plot and characters are not important. It's just important to rail against movies like this fucking existing. It's not that I want people to not have jobs. I want people to have jobs. I just want them to do better projects, better than Cult Killer, which is hard to do, apparently, because a lot of people just don't seem to want to try to make anything good anymore. So, yeah, he helps get her off of booze. It also turns out that Cassie, while investigating, along with a guy named Rory, played by Paul Ree. I've seen him in stuff before. I don't really know what right now. But he worked with Antonio Banderas' character. Alice Eve goes along with... It's just funny to say Alice Eve, like Parasite Eve. This movie was a parasite. Let's get back to that. You know what you do with parasites? You give it medication and you hope it rots away. Hopefully Cult Killer does. And then we get fourth wall break stuff. He's like, oh, if some film noir shit happens, I'll call you. But then he gets killed, and it turns out Jamie did it. Then Jamie finds Cassie, aka Alice Eve, and basically it turns out they have a bond over abuse. Cassie's father abused her. She learned fighting in university and ended up breaking his arm when she came back from university. Don't abuse. Don't do that with her children, or don't do that. What the fuck is wrong with you? What a nameless, scenario-less person that I have just created. Anyway, also Jamie was kept against her will while a few people, like this one guy Edgar, and then Dottie, the old lady woman that actually, again, seems like a terrific actress and is everywhere. She must just be taking on any roles. And you know what? Credit to her. Leave a filmography that hasn't been, respected like this since Bruce Willis. At least Bruce Willis had to step out after doing all those action movies. I feel bad for Bruce Willis, who was not in this. Because unfortunately he has dementia or some variation. Let's get back to this. Why did Jamie's voice sound dubbed in during one particular scene when her and Alice Eve first met? I don't know. Yeah, Jamie was abused. She was basically held there against her will. Now she's seeking vengeance against everybody. There's a split screen call between them because Jamie stole Antonio Banderas' phone. Maybe she actually really did. I do want to, however, say Shelley Henning, I think, tries here. I think the people are trying, at least a couple of the actors are, but oh boy. Most of them are just slumming through this. So, yes, the abused phone call with the split screen, and then it turns out that Jamie basically has been seeking revenge, and that she became a monster. You can't let the monsters win. That's actually something that Antonio Banderas said to Alice Eve. She broke her father's arm, but didn't destroy him, break every bone in his body. And even though she showed footage and pictures, the family didn't want to see it. The family didn't want to accept it, because the wife is a dumb bitch. If you can't accept that your kids are telling the truth, especially when they present evidence, you got problems, and you don't deserve to have children. So, yeah, the idea is this old couple, Edgar and Dottie, are going to scare her away. Oh, yes, and also there was an earlier scene with Rory. Not Robbie, I'm Robbie. And that is such a deep cut, nobody gets it. Nobody. Only deep diving wrestling fans will remember that. And so Rory and Cassie were trying to investigate this house. It's basically just like a castle, like Halsey sang about. And turns out Dottie is super evil. She's like, I'm so bored, we need something to play with. And yeah, there's a fourth wall break. It's like, well, who are these other people that you're talking about? Cassie says to Jamie, oh, that's called a plot twist. Was this written by AI and they just slapped a person's name on it? What human would write this? Bless people. I mean, I'm sorry. Anyway, let's get to the finish of this. Plot's stupid. we get to where Jamie attacks Edgar and after throwing a head down a chimney to scare the old people. She manages to catch Edgar and Dottie outside the goddamn grounds. Victor gets arrested. She stabs Edgar, and he's about to goddamn stroke out. But Dottie captures her and pepper sprays her, kicks her, and then captures her and basically tortures her and, is stabbing her and everything and doing all this stuff. But says, all you got to say is what you said before. I love you, Mommy. And I'm like, why is she having to act like an idiot? I don't understand. I don't understand this. It's not even being a vicious killer. It's being goofy. And, yeah. Oh, and there was an earlier scene where she was playing with some hair, somebody's hair. Possibly Jamie's. I don't know. Could have been hair from Locks of Love that she stole. She's apparently so evil. But, yeah, it turns out that after Jamie had helped rescue Cassie, and there was a brief possible face-off where maybe they were going to do something, they were going to fight. Cassie was too beat up, and she says, fine, when the time comes, we'll have our fight. That's a promise. So she tries to record Edgar. Edgar doesn't really confess much. He dies, and then Jamie decides to just go full vampire and bite Dottie's neck, and because Owen has been around for about 18 years, well, 18 centuries that is, screwed that up, let's move on. She remembers when Dracula first came around. She actually remembers the Dracula Untold story happening in real time. There's a retro review to do. But she records Jamie's story, absolves her, I became a monster, and I will die a monster. And then she kills her off screen. And then we get one final flashback, and Antonio Banderas put the company that he has, that funds this company, that whatever, it's fine. He's lost his wife, so he doesn't have any money to send to anybody else. He leaves it in both their names. And now that he died, she has the company name. And I assume money, probably millions of dollars. Who knows? Who cares? Cult killer. There you go. I don't know who the cult was. I don't know why they called them a cult. Just creep killer is really what it could have been. F. If I could go lower than F, I would. Terrible. Abysmal. An abomination. A crime against film. Agree, disagree with what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rickland. I'll see you soon.